that I was going to discuss on the other feed. But sometimes because I just kind of get into different discussion topics based on the questions you ask or the comments you make, I'll just go with the flow. And so, believe it or not, the topic that I was actually going to hit on had to do with an article that I just read on CNN FN. And let me find this article because I think this is an important thing for us to kind of understand in terms of where America is and where we are as Black people and where we fit. A lot of people just don't understand how much this country hates you. I think that a lot of us don't really understand, just that some of the challenges that that are laid out against us. And also, more importantly, we don't understand where the solutions lie. I think that a lot of times because of our training, we will go right to the system that created the problems to try to solve the problems, and it just doesn't really work. I think that you have to understand that in terms of, and this is what I hit on the New Paradigm book. In the New Paradigm book that I give you guys, which you can get at drboycewatkins.net. My argument is that in order for us to really solve certain problems that we've always had, I think that we have to really be creative in our thinking. It doesn't mean I'm the first Black person to ever come up with a creative idea or a new a new way to look at things. There are lots of brilliant people out here, and I hope we get a chance to listen to all of them. I want all the scholars stepping out. I want everybody who's got something to say to step out. But I'll step out and share, my perspective on it. But before I get into that, let me just go through some of this article, and I want you to kind of take a peek at it if you can. The title of the article is that blacks are still far behind whites in wealth and income. Blacks still far behind whites in wealth and income. Now, this hasn't changed. It's been like this for a very long time. Basically, the wealth gap has not really evolved very much. The employment gap hasn't changed very much, even under a Black president. A Black president didn't make much of a difference. And really, like, so when people ask me now, do you think Barack Obama was a good president? And I say, yeah, he was as good as the other white guys. Because remember, Barack is half white. He's just as white as he is Black. And compared to white presidents, I think he was one of the best. He wasn't, to me, a great Black president in the sense of really doing what I think needed to be done for Black folks. And let me go into this article before I say more that's going to get me in trouble for the people that think any critique of Obama means you must not like him, because it ain't about liking and not liking. It's about telling the truth. It's about loving the community. The only thing I love is the Black community. Okay, so Gail Lee is asking, where's the article? You know what, Gail? I'm gonna go ahead and cut and paste the link to the article into the comments section so you can take a look at it. And I want you to read it. And also, if you get a chance, go ahead and hit the share button and share this feed to your personal Facebook page if you think that this information is helpful to people, because each one teach one. So I'm not talking to students, I'm talking to teachers. So go ahead and hit the share button and pass it on. Okay, so I'll read the first part here. It says, blacks in the United States continue to lag far behind whites in key areas of economic well-being like wealth, income, and ownership, according to a new report in the Pew Research Center. So while these trends have been consistent for decades, what's particularly notable is that these disparities between blacks and whites persist regardless of the level of education they attain. So what they're basically saying, here's what they're saying. They're saying that when you're a poorly educated Black person, you have a gap. And when you become a highly educated Black person, you have a gap. So the gap ain't closing because you get more education, right? The gap is not closing based on our behavior. The gap exists mainly because of policy, because government won't support any kind of policy that closes the gap. The only way the gap will close is if we get courageous enough politicians to actually do something about it. Barack Obama wasn't that guy. He was not our champion in that particular area. I personally believe that the only other policy that can evolve is policy within our community, in terms of us reshaping what it means to build wealth, what it means to attain economic prosperity, the pathways that we select. That's going to be the shift that's going to have to happen, because we know the politicians really aren't going to do it. So let me keep going. Take income. In 2014, the median household income for whites was $71,300 compared to $43,300 for Black people. But for college-educated whites, the median household income was $106,600 significantly higher than the $82,300 for households headed by college-educated blacks. So you look at the gap. Let me see. Let's do the math here. So the gap, 73 minus 43, what's that? 28. Make sure I'm doing it. Okay, 28. For educated people, 106 minus 82 is 18 plus 4. 18 plus 6, that's 24. So 28 versus 24,000, right? So the gap closes a little bit, but it's still pretty big. But that's just income. Remember, income is not wealth. Income is not wealth. Income is not wealth. Those are two different things. Income is water coming out of the faucet. Wealth is how much Kool-Aid you got in the pitcher, or how much water you got in the whole jug, right? So income creates wealth because you hold the jug in front of the faucet and it fills up with water. That becomes your wealth. So you can have wealth even if no water is coming out of the faucet. But you can't have income, you can't have income unless the faucet is turned on. Or you can have a high income, so you can have water come out the faucet, but you can have an empty jug. So for black people, the double whammy, the gap in terms of outcomes is not in the income. That's not the real devil. The devil is actually in the wealth differentials, because wealth is an accumulated differential in income, sort of added up over time. So moving on, let's keep reading. Let's keep thinking about this. One of the biggest ways to amass wealth, especially for people of color, is to own a home. Yet the home ownership rates for blacks are 43% compared to 72% for whites. So white people are more likely to own homes. Why? Well, guess what? Banks run by white people are more likely to loan to other white people. Also, in this article goes deeper into this issue as well. Homes owned by blacks also tend to appreciate less in value than those owned by whites. So that means that when you buy a house in a black neighborhood, not only are you less likely to ever own the house and more likely to buy a house that has less value, but the value increase is going to be slower because black communities are neglected politically, which leads to declines in home values. Also, where banks loan money to buy homes determines those home values. Because if banks are loaning, if a bank, let me tell you like this, if there was a federal policy that suddenly made a lot of capital available to loan money to buy homes in black neighborhoods, those homes in those neighborhoods would improve and all property values would go up. They would go up because wherever the government makes money available, values go up. There's an inflation in value. For example, universities. The government made a lot of money available for people to borrow to go to college. What has happened as a result? To college tuition, up, 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 up. Go to any major university in any city. I bet your ass, if I go to your city and there's a major university in that city, I guarantee you that there is a massive set of construction projects occurring on that campus. I bet you anything. If you're in Cincinnati, I bet you the University of Cincinnati is buying up every house on the block because they got money like that now. If you go to USC, I bet you that if I go to USC, I'm going to see construction projects everywhere. The University of Tennessee, I bet if I go to the University of Tennessee, they're buying up entire neighborhoods to build extra dorms. Why? Because the money's going in that direction. The capital is being sent in that direction, which increases tuition, which increases faculty salaries, which increases the values of the property, which increases the expansion of the university itself. That's the issue. So you go to the other side of that. Black communities are neglected economically. They don't supply capital to those communities. So the exact opposite of the expansion becomes a contraction in value, a contraction in the numbers of people buying in those neighborhoods, a contraction in everything. How many people do you know who are black who would love to buy a home if they could simply get a loan, who are capable of paying the loan back but can't get a loan for whatever reason? I know a lot of people like that. And so, anyway, let's jump back in this article. Let's keep going. Historically, neighborhood segregation and redlining, the practice of not investing in or providing financial or other services for communities with high percentages of black residents, have exacerbated this trend. Blacks were also targeted with subprime loans during the housing boom, and as a result, lost a tremendous amount of wealth after the market crashed. So African American wealth got its butt kicked in the crash in 2008. Whatever happened to white people happened to us, double time, because most of us who do have a little bit of money have a lot of our wealth tied up in our homes. Home values plummeted after the big recession in 2008. They haven't really recovered the way they should have. Also, the people who have done well since Obama was elected are people who have invested in the stock market, people who buy in the stock market. That's why at the blackbusinessschool.com, if you go sign up, you can sign up for free. The first thing we do is we give you a video on how to buy your first share of stock. In the Black Wealth Bootcamp, we talk about getting into the stock market, because the thing is, it's not for rich people. It's not for white people. Anybody can go buy stock. If you can buy a pair of shoes, you can buy a share of stock. It's not that hard to do. And so once you do that and you get into that habit, then what happens is over time, your wealth grows. Do you know this, that a person who put 1,000, let's say you had a grandparent who had the vision to not think about 1930, but to think about 2016, who said, I'm not worried about what's going on in my family right now. I'm going to think about what I want my family to have going on almost 100 years from now, right? Do you know if that, so let's say the grandparent then takes $1,000, which would be the equivalent of $14,400 today. So that's a decent amount of money, but it ain't like an infinite amount of money. A lot of us could raise $14,000 in a year or two if we saved our money up, right? And they put that money in the stock market and just bought a bunch of stocks. Doesn't matter which stocks they buy, they just mixed it up and bought a bunch of different stocks. Do you know that money would be worth, let me look. I think it was, let me make sure I got the number right, $13.2 million today. $13.2 million that you would have right now if your great-great-grandfather or great-great-grandmother had bought $1,000 worth of stock in 1930. Let's flip that now. Let's take the seesaw and flip it to the other side. Think about your great-grandchildren right now in the year 2100. Think about where they're going to be economically, and imagine if you went and took and invested, say, $5,000 in the stock market right now for them, just for them, $3,000, $2,000, $1,000, whatever you want to do. They would be millionaires because of what you did today. And if you did it consistently, if you did it the way that we talk about in the Black Wealth Bootcamp, and I'm actually putting together a lecture series on this. This is why this has been on my head. I'm actually putting together this stuff, and I was talking to Dr. Claude Anderson about all of this today, because he and Dr. Anderson and I are actually going to do some good stuff in the near future. I'm going to tell you guys about it when it's ready. But basically, if you're just consistent, if you just put, say, $100 or $200 a month in the stock market and just think about it as a long-term play for your family, because wealth is, you see, empires are family empires are sort of built with generations in mind. You got to be thinking in terms of generations, in terms of centuries, to really build something powerful. You can't think in terms of like what I'm gonna have tomorrow, what I'm gonna have next Tuesday. That don't work. If you did that right now and just did that consistently, your children and grandchildren will be millionaires. They wouldn't be economic victims. They wouldn't be, sitting around saying, oh, woe is me, I can't get ahead because white man won't give me no money, white man won't give me no job, and it's really hard out here for people like me. I mean, they wouldn't be saying all of that because they would have $10 million in the bank, or $5 million in the bank, or $2 million in the bank. All it takes is somebody to have some vision, and I think in your family, I would say that, I would hope that you would be that visionary. You wouldn't be right here. You wouldn't be right here listening to me if you weren't planning on being the visionary for your family. Every family needs a soldier. Every family needs somebody who steps out of the pocket, who just does something different from everybody else and sets a new trend, and that everybody else is going to benefit from, everybody else is going to follow. And the thing was, so in my family, I kind of was that person a little bit. I did a lot of stuff that didn't make a whole lot of sense to my family in the 90s. They didn't understand why I was getting a PhD. They didn't understand why I was, even my camcorder, I used to videotape a lot of stuff in my family back in the 90s, and they were like, get that camera out of my face. I don't want you recording stuff, and that my hair ain't ready, blah, blah. But they would cuss me out when I pull the camera out. Now, 20 years later, those same people come to me and they're like, can you give me the tape from Christmas in 1995? Or I used to give you a hard time about that camera, but now I'm glad you had it. I'm so glad you didn't listen to me, right? So in the same, and you keep going. Same thing as far as like what I do now, talking crazy about race and being the kind of scholar that I am. A lot of scholars told me I was crazy. They told me I was ruining my career. A lot of my family members didn't understand it. They didn't understand the entrepreneurship, and they didn't understand the radicalism of it. And now those very same people see that as a source of inspiration. And it's not my opportunity to say, I told you so. See, I told y'all I was gonna make it. Maybe when I was younger, more and less mature, I would have felt that way. But really, I realize now that sometimes people can't see the vision because they just can't see the vision, right? Because they just don't know, or they're not ready, or maybe they just don't have the courage yet. And you give them the courage by following through. So anyway, let's keep going. Let's keep going. In fact, in a minute, I think I need to turn the air conditioner up because I am like burning up. I got lights on and everything. So anyway, okay, so let's jump into this article. Let's keep going. Let's keep going because we're talking about white people and wealth and all this stuff. Don't forget to go to drboycewatkins.net to get your free copy of my book. It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar. Go to drboycewatkins.net. Also, if you want to order the Hidden Colors series, go to hiddencolors1234.com. I have to mention that because we got to pay some bills up in here, and we partner with Tariq Nasheed, and I want you guys to support his film. Anyway, moving on. So it says, even though the poverty gap between blacks and whites has narrowed, Pew found that blacks are still at least twice as likely as whites to live in poverty or be unemployed. And while 23% of blacks said they sought food from a bank or pantry in the last 12 months, just 8% of whites said they did so. So poverty hits black people more than whites. Also, they said more than 2/3 of blacks, 70%, said racial discrimination was a major reason why some blacks have a hard time getting ahead in the U.S. More specifically, 60% said they felt like they were treated unfairly compared to whites when applying for a loan or mortgage, and 53% said they were treated unfairly at work. Perhaps the most telling statistic is that 43% of blacks said that the country would not make the necessary changes needed to give blacks equality in all areas of life. That's compared to 11% of whites who felt that way. So not only are our outcomes different from whites, but our perspective is very different from whites. We don't see, as much hope and as much belief or have as much faith in the American economic and political system as white people do. White people kind of, I guess, think racism is not a problem. In fact, there was another part in the article, I didn't get a chance to read that, where they were saying that a large percentage of whites kind of feel like race really isn't an issue anymore. And a lot of black people just don't agree, because our experience is very different. So what I kind of really see is just a situation where I don't think that at any point a large number of benevolent white people are really going to get on board in terms of understanding what really needs to be done for our country to become better when it comes to race. I just don't see that. I do see, though, that there are opportunities in this country. I refuse to believe that America is just so horrible that we can't find a way to build what we need to build. Remember, black people have over $1 trillion in economic power. Over $1 trillion. Most countries don't have that much money. So we have, we don't really have the kind of poverty you're going to see if you go to Nigeria or if you go to, you go to some parts of South America. It doesn't mean we don't have some type of despair. It doesn't mean we don't have challenges, but we do have opportunities. We do have avenues. And so what I would just generally say is that, working together, finding solutions, rethinking how we look at money and wealth building and investing, from a cultural standpoint is very, very important. The culture should not be anti-investing. The culture should not be one that encourages instant gratification. The culture has to be one that encourages making sacrifices in the short term so you can have more in the long term. And so if you talk about, for example, just investing $100 a month in the stock market, a lot of people can do that. It's not, $100 a month, that's $25 a week. I see people blow $25 a week at McDonald's and Starbucks, right? That's not a whole lot of money for most people. So James keeps giving the website unlimitedbowties.com. So apparently James is a fan because I don't seen that URL pop up many times. James, hey bro, do me this favor. I want you to email me at boyce@boycewatkins.com. Write it down. Boyce@boycewatkins.com. And all y'all can write it down. When you email me, you're going to get an autoresponder, but it's not an empty autoresponder. It's not one that just says, hey, thank you for emailing me and you suck and I'm not going to talk to you. It ain't like that. The autoresponder is designed specifically to give you lots of information about our organization so that you can find what you need to succeed, to do what you want to do. We have put 10,000, 20,000 hours of work into developing infrastructure. That's why the Black Business School is so different. You don't see this at universities. We have infrastructure so that when you're done taking a class from us, there's other stuff you can do to really get off the ground and get your stuff moving. So one of the best creations we have recently, for example, is the blackcommercenetwork.com. At the blackcommercenetwork.com, you can actually become an affiliate for other Black-owned businesses that need help selling their products. So you can take a link from the Black Commerce Network and put it on your Facebook page, and if people buy from you, you get a commission. Like, for example, the Black Business School, we give you a 30% commission on anything that you sell, any class that you sell. So if you take a class and you love it, tell your friends about it, and then they get the benefit of high quality, low cost education. You get the benefit of earning a commission. We get the benefit of getting financial support without having to go beg white people and corporations and the government for money. I don't want to do that ever. That's not what we do, because what happens is when you take money from the wrong people, they start shifting your message. They start telling you what to say. I'm not going to do it. So you're not going to see me on getting a show on CNN, or you're not going to see me having a radio show on some national network, most likely. I mean, unless it's a really progressive thinking kind of platform. And the reason is because I don't want to be in a scenario where my voice is going to be muted. So because you can't take money from everybody. So go try out the blackcommercenetwork.com. For this brother who James, who's selling the bow ties, you can email Andre at financialjuneteenth.com. Andre, that email is also in the autoresponder. He can interview you for our platform so you can talk about your business, let other people know about it. Our platform is your platform. We're here to share everything with you as much as we possibly can, and we're doing our best. Like, sometimes we don't do everything perfectly, but just know it ain't because we're not trying. We're always trying our best. Let's see. Lori says, Black people need to save more, focus on long-term gain, and move away from short-term happiness from a trendy consumer item. That's absolutely true for the Black people to do that. I know a lot of Black people who don't. I know a lot of Black people who sacrifice, who are willing to save, willing to invest. But then I know people. It seems that in a way, ignorance is winning. It seems that the trend is kind of one that's sort of like, well, I'll worry about tomorrow. And I almost link that to almost like an extreme form of capitalist greed, because capitalist greed, capitalism in itself isn't always a bad thing. It's when it becomes greedy, myopic, or short-sighted capitalism that you get in trouble. So to me, capitalist greed says, I care about me and mine, and that's it. I don't care about nobody else. But then also the extreme of capitalist greed is also short-sightedness, where you say, not only do I not care about other people, I don't even care about myself in the future. I don't even care about Boyce 5 years from now. Screw him. I'm thinking about me right now, and that's it. And that's when you end up getting into this thing where you're like, well, I could save and invest this money so I can have a better future, but the future ain't here, and I'm not there yet. All I got is the present, so I'm gonna go ahead and just, do the YOLO thing and go spend my money. I'm gonna go ahead and just, do whatever feels good right now. I'm gonna go ahead and sleep with this girl, and I'm not gonna worry about what happens if she gets pregnant and I end up paying child support for 18 years on a baby that I didn't even want, that wasn't even created in a cradle of love. She was created in a cradle of lust, right? So it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, so let's see here. Gloria Alston says Oprah helped Susie Orman try OWN. Well, I don't know. The Oprah Winfrey Network, one time they did reach out to me. They wanted to talk to me. And they wanted to fly me up, and I guess, I don't know if it would be an audition or something, but they did reach out. But it was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And the thing was, it was interesting. The problem in the negotiation from the beginning that I saw was that the thing the guy told me, the guy that was on the phone with me, said was he said, well, that if you come and work with Oprah, you can't, all the other stuff you're doing, you have to shut that down. And I was like, but I have something I'm very proud of. Like, we built this. This is ours. Like, I'm not shutting down my stuff to go work with Oprah or nobody. I love Oprah, but I'm not going to go shut Oprah. She going to shut her stuff down for me. So, cause she owns her stuff, right? I own my stuff. Like, I'm not going to shut down, so we're going to have to talk about that. So the negotiation never went any further than that. Like, we didn't actually talk and follow up again. But that would have probably been the issue. Because, I mean, absolutely, partnering with Oprah, God bless it, it would be fun. I think Oprah I like Oprah. I always have. But I don't really know if mainstream Black people are always ready for me. Right. Now, if I was super rich and super famous, they would kind of adjust everything. But the thing is, I'm kind of rich and kind of famous, so I'm not as famous as like super famous people. Like, I'm not as famous as a Will Smith or Jamie Foxx because I'm not mainstream. I'm more like niche. Like, I either meet people that don't know who the hell I am, which actually I like that a lot of times. I like being anonymous, or I meet people who have followed me for a long time who get really excited about seeing me. But it's not like being a movie star and walking into a building and you get mobbed in a mall and people are chasing you down the street. So what effectively I think occurs is that there are some people who feel like, well, he's not important enough for us to pay attention to him. We're going to ignore him. But over time that changes. Like, every year that changes a little bit more. And I personally tend to believe that those who are more progressive thinking kind of catch on to the ideas, because I think that what we're doing, what we're talking about in this space, is one of those things where a lot of people will be able to say, I was back there when I was there at the beginning when Dr. Boyce was saying this, and there was only 40 people in the room or 1,000 people in the room or whatever. And now this other thing is happening because every year what I'm seeing is that more and more of these mainstream people are adapting to the idea. For example, I'm not bragging. I'm not saying this is true or anything like that, but I would not be surprised if Jesse Williams is very much aware of my work. Like when I hear people speak a certain way, because remember, I've been challenging BET for a long time to elevate their game, and I've been challenging some of these institutions for a long time. So a lot of times I'll meet people of the at a higher caliber than Jesse Williams, actually, like A-list movie stars who will say, "Oh, I've been following you for years," and so it wouldn't surprise me if Jesse was influenced by not just me though, maybe me. Maybe Minister Louis Farrakhan, maybe an Umar Johnson type, etc. Because those ideas that he was spewing on the stage, a lot of those ideas were really coming from the grassroots black folks who've been talking like this for years. But I'm glad Jesse did it. I have nothing but love for Jesse, nothing but respect for him because it's one thing. I mean, some people criticize it like, oh, he's half white, his mom was white, and so he don't really count. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. That's stupid. I don't even entertain an idea like that. But then second of all, I've heard people say, well, he ain't saying nothing different from what we've been saying for years. Yeah, but I mean, the man made a monumental moment. Are we really going to get caught up in who gets the credit? I mean, are we really? I mean, I know the people that y'all that follow me, y'all know what I've been saying. I've been very consistent. I ain't changed. I've been saying the same stuff since 07, 08. And so what if a Jesse Williams, so what if he grabs the idea and runs with it and uses his big moment to make a statement on behalf of us? That's all we want our celebrities to do is take your big moment and use it for your people. Stop using it for these white people that don't like you. That's the thing. They use it for these white folks that don't even care nothing about them, who paid them a little bit of money, bought them off, ain't got no respect for them. Nobody will ever respect you if they think they can buy you for a couple dollars. They're gonna pay you the money, then they're gonna laugh at you. I mean, because the thing is that by showing that you're that weak, that you're that fickle, that you're easily bought, they just look at you and they're like, "Oh, you ain't shit. You're not somebody I can even admire." Remember, somebody liking you is not the same as them respecting you. And I think that a lot of our leaders, some of our leaders, not all of them, some of our leaders, I think, lose that respect because people are like, "Man, like not only can we buy him off, but we can buy him cheap. Negroes come cheap." When Comcast bought, got the loyalty of Al Sharpton, I like what Byron Allen said. Byron Allen was like, not only did they buy you and buy you out to get you to sell out your people, but they bought you for a chicken dinner, man. Like if you're gonna sell out, at least sell out for some real money. Sell out for $2 billion. Don't sell out for like $500,000. They piss that amount of money. They spend that amount of money in 10 minutes. So to me, it's like you never win if you sell out. You never do. Even in the movies, the person that sells out, the bad guy always kills them anyway. They're like, "Oh, you a punk. I'm gonna kill you," right? And so anyway, so you make deals with the devil, bad things are gonna happen. So I'm about to get out of here, guys. I've been on this thing for a while. I like this. I like talking to y'all, and it's fun. Don't forget, go get your copy of the book. It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar. Go to drboycewatkins.net. You can get a free e-copy of the book. Please share this live stream on your Facebook feed. It would mean the world to me. Also, if you want to buy a copy of Hidden Colors, you can go to hiddencolors1234.com to get the whole series. It comes with e-copies of 4 of my books, a free class in the Black Business School, and a lecture from Tariq Nasheed where he talks about how he built his company. You're not going to see this offer anywhere else. It's absolutely amazing. And if you just want to get Hidden Colors 4, which I'm in Hidden Colors 4, so I'm proud of the creation. I was a part of it. You can go to hiddencolorsbundlepack.com. That's hiddencolorsbundlepack.com. And so I'll see you guys real soon. And I'm gonna do some of these live feeds, on a regular basis, kind of like my little radio show. I don't really want to do a radio show because radio shows take too much of your time. I don't really want to go sit in the studio all day and get on some little station that's got a modest reach. I like social media because I can reach everybody here. Some of you are coming in as far away as China, and I think that's really the wave of the future. And so I'm actually going to use this kind of as the platform for the Dr. Boyce Watkins show. And also in the feed above, there'll be information on where you can follow me on social media and all that stuff. And I hope you'll take one of our classes. I'm telling you, It'll be stuff that will change your life. It's far cheaper than the tens of thousands you spent at a university learning from white folks. And the information will be better. It's built to help you build, and we have every tool that you need to accomplish every goal that you have for yourself. Just don't be afraid. Go for it. Jump off the cliff. Make it happen. You might hit your head on a rock, like Steve Harvey said. You might hit your head on a rock, but you stand up and you jump again. Because life's too short for you not to go after what's yours and to go after what you want. So take care, guys, and I will talk to you soon. And I love you very much. Peace.